What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Retro Rewind, as today we'll look back at a movie that turned the concept of toys coming to life into a mature, dark, action-packed adventure, and I'm talking about Small Soldiers, the movie, released in 1998. Before we begin this video, make sure you head over to my channel and click that subscribe button for more nostalgic videos on beloved properties from the 80s and 90s. Small Soldiers, the movie, was a film I actually saw in a local small-town theater in my area during the first week of its premiere. It was really the first movie of its kind involving action figures of military soldiers and mystical monsters. Let alone being in the 90s when action figures were thriving with so many brands from movie franchises to animated series, this one was definitely unique. Although Hasbro did create the action figures, which I've seen a few times at KB Toys as a kid, despite not looking 100% like the movie, the only thing I regret was not buying them at the time because of how expensive and rare some of these are today. However, being such a huge fan of the film, of course I had to pick up the VHS, DVD, and the PlayStation 1 video game versions of the film, because it's not only nostalgic, but it's really one of those kind of movies where there's nothing like it. Not only is this one of my favorite movies to date, it's also become an underrated film as well, creating an underground fanbase in hopes for a sequel. The basic premise of the film is that a company called Globotech Industries, a provider for a military defense and technology, bought out a toy company called Heartland Play Systems, which in reality makes absolutely no sense. With that, when one of the two toy designers incorporates microprocessing chips called
the X1000. Thank you.
Within the action figures, since the new CEO, Gil Mars, wants to have toys that can contain a playing back feature, this eventually causes a war between the two factions. The Commando Elites, designed by Larry Benson, whom are a group of military soldiers, who have one of the coolest opening scenes to give a really good idea just what the enemies are up against. I mean, the intro of them busting out of their packages is so badass. Within the Commando Elites roll call, you have Major Chip Hazard, the ruthless leader, Butch Meathook, the sniper expert, Nick Nitro, the demolition expert, Brick Bazooka, the artillery and ammunition expert, Link Static, the communications expert, and Kip Killigan, the covert operations expert. The other faction contains a group of mystical creatures or monsters called the Gorgonites, whom were programmed to hide and lose by one of the designers named Aaron Wayfair, consisting of Archer, the leader whom contains features of a feline, Ocula, the one-eyed scout, Slamfist, the enforcer and hunchback/ogre, Troglokahn, aka Freakenstein, the barbarian/navigator, Insaniac, the hyperactive attack specialist, and Punch It with Scratch It, a Brontothir muscle and frog-like defense strategist, respectively. This eventually leads our main protagonist Allen Abernathy to be caught in the middle of this war between the Commando Elites and the Gorgonites, as he schemes his way like a scalper to acquire these new set of figures in order to help his father's failing toy store, unaware of what they're truly capable of. Allen is basically your average troublemaker whose reputation is quite known, where trust and responsibilities are not in his favor, especially since an incident involves the Commando Elites to destroy the store.
I can do it.
Obviously you can't.
With no one to believe him, not even his parents, who are skeptical that Allen is on drugs.
Are you on crank?
No!
Then is it crystal meth, tar, smack?
The concept of walking and talking toys is just too far-fetched to fathom.
Talk to me!
Although Allen finds himself communicating with his toys a bit bizarre, he winds up understanding that they're developing a mind of their own.
Greetings, Allen. Now shut up.
All for a greater purpose, which is to find the location of their homeland called Gorgon. As Allen tries to find the remaining Gorgonites, as previously mentioned, they're designed to hide and lose, and unfortunately becomes a target himself since he's an ally, by having the Commandos seek and destroy Archer.
It's a small world after all.
The only person to accompany him on this fiasco is his crush Christy Fimple, his neighbor. And like Mary Jane, she's still a heartbreaker and a tease. I mean, she has a boyfriend already, yet sometimes she's flirting with Allen, so what's that all about? Either way, glad to see nothing's changed there. One of my favorite scenes in the film is right in the beginning where we see the creation process of the toys. I remember being in the theater and being absolutely amazed by this segment because who wouldn't want to be a toy designer? From sculpting to the assembly line to packaging, it's just freaking awesome. Not to mention, your initial thoughts are that the soldiers are the good guys and the monsters are the villains. Well, despite being programmed to believe so, It winds up being the opposite, as the Gorgonites are the good guys and the Commando Elites are the bad guys. And as an artist myself, seeing both Irwin and Larry market their products in the meeting room with sketches, prototypes, and unreleased characters will always make my inner child go crazy. The cool part is, the toy that Irwin holds in the beginning named Flat Shoe, Hasbro actually made this figure, which may be overlooked if not paying attention. If you're expecting this film to be friendly as Toy Story, well, you're surely mistaken, as it doesn't shy away from being a bit too edgy. For example, you have a scene where Allen tries to prevent Archer from being slaughtered in the garbage disposal, and when coming across a spinning blade, he gets his skin sliced up with deep cuts and blood. Then you have Christie's drunken mother, who though is a minor character of the film, as a kid I didn't realize why she was so droopy and tired all the time until I realized she's basically an alcoholic. And since she doesn't really contribute to anything, it's best she remains in the closet for the remainder of this review. And last, you have a scene which probably may be traumatizing to many kids, but when the Commandos invade Christie's house and see she's building an army of her own, aka with Barbie or Gwendy dolls,
sir?
The Commandos eventually experiment to equip them with weapons and increase their roster, which demorphs their faces and appearances. Now these dolls look so freaky that it makes anyone not want to own them. Then you have some semi-emotional scenes where one of the members named Nick Nitro unfortunately gets killed in battle, and when his battery dies, the rest of the recruits mourn the loss of their comrade. Although it sucks to see members depart a team, sometimes having a blow like this gives more growth to the story to progress. However, to get a little more enlightenment, there's a conversation between Archer and Allen where they talk about believing, feeling, and seeing when it comes to the difference between being a human and an action figure. Although Archer wasn't able to feel wind through the window, as Allen assures him it exists, when determined to find Gorgon, Allen tries to convince him it doesn't exist, but then Archer hits him back with,
Even if you can't see something, it doesn't mean it isn't there.
basically putting him in his place. Aside from this, some side storylines involves Allen's father and Christie's father to butt heads for their creative differences, and as a kid to hear the word crap on the big screen was pretty cool.
That dish is just one more piece of techno crap to go along with the rest of your stockpile of techno crap.
Nonetheless, the movie tends to have plenty of action where Brick Bazooka is on a mission to kill Archer but gets broken into pieces. Thankfully, unlike Nick Nitro's fate, he actually survives the scenario. Even though this isn't action per se, but I did enjoy the figures utilizing Allen's garage as a workshop to create new weapons and firepower, especially with Another One Bites the Dust by Queen playing in the background. Then you have the scene where Allen rescues Christie from the Gwendy doll invasion, where these girls are flying all over the place left and right, which also creates a chase scene full of explosions, and miracle stunts. Unfortunately, the original lineup of characters wind up being destroyed in a fatal crash aside from Major Chip Hazard, who survived with damages. And that really bummed me out, because there's really no other characters left, so unless we're getting more characters, what could possibly happen next? Yet, through some sort of coincidence, Major Chip Hazard discovers a toy store and realizing that it probably contains a whole stock of recruits within the shelves to activate, which is enough for sweet vengeance, and that's when you know shit's about to go down. This eventually leads for one epic battle as a whole truck full of commandos are ready for war. Seeing how Allen was telling the truth this whole time, this causes Allen and Christie's family to work together. The humans versus the toys.
There will be no mercy! All Gorgonite scum must die!
Now I absolutely love this scene. Even though the original 5 commandos died, seeing them return in some form just didn't feel the same, but then again, there was only 6 to begin with. So I wonder why Major Chip Hazard didn't bring all his versions to life. Maybe it was to show he was the ultimate leader. Either way, if anyone goes to the store to find these figures, I guess he'll be the ultimate peg warmer. Anyways, the way they made it feel like it was life and death was nicely done. You have the soldiers dying out on the field, a wide range of unique weapons and vehicles made from tools in Allen's garage, a bunch of explosions, fire, destruction, and total chaos within the house. At some point, you're kind of like, what the hell are the Gorgonites doing? Because for a majority of the movie, the Gorgonites practically did nothing as they just simply fooled around, watched TV, and drove Allen crazy.
What are you looking at?
So to finally see them build a confidence and understand that the humans needed them drove a big smile on my face. They absolutely fought back, showing no mercy. Not to mention, Major Chip Hazard and Archer have their final showdown on top of the light pole, but sadly Archer gets his ass kicked. There was also one scene I liked when Erwin and Larry arrive at Allen's house to discuss the possible lawsuit Allen threatened them about involving dangerous killing toys.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
I'm not a ma'am.
Although Larry deserved a punch to the face for all the trouble he's caused, it made me happy to see Erwin have a convo with his own creations and having responsive dialogues. Now I wish I can do that with my action figures. They eventually discover that the soldiers can be defeated by an EMP, electric magnetic pulse. So when Allen tries to help Archer in an attempt to fry the X-1000, Major Chip Hazard gets a brutal death by being placed into the powered transformer, causing a huge fuse.
There will be no mercy.
You know the movie is practically ending when it's the next day, the soldiers are defeated and everyone's cleaning up the mess, except the neighbors who are nowhere to be found. Until that is, Allen hesitates to think that the Gorgonites have died as well when finding them under a satellite dish unresponsive. Lo and behold, it actually protected them from frying, allowing all of them to be alive and well, since once again they were programmed to hide and lose. Allen miraculously gets the girl, and Gil Mars pays for everyone's damages, suggesting this would be great if used in real military. Nonetheless, the ending of this movie is one of my favorites. The Gorgonites bid their farewell to Allen and search for Gorgon, giving us an emotional send-off into the unknown. What adventures lays ahead for the Gorgonites will always be in the back of my mind, because letting go of figures you have an attachment with is never an easy thing to do. Yet the journey must continue. Will they find Gorgon? Will they encounter new warriors or monsters to fight? We will never know. This movie is so underrated and overlooked that despite getting negative reviews for its dark tones, it certainly created its own fan base within the years to follow. The concept is new and original and definitely could have spanned a few sequels. Unfortunately, despite rumored to have a sequel in development, when 20th Century Fox was bought out by Disney in 2019, this led to many films in the pipeline to be cancelled, and Small Soldiers was one of them. Although the chances of getting a sequel may never be actualized, the graphics are good for its time, the use of CGI and animatronics is done well, the voice acting is on point, giving each character a distinctive trait, and the darkness or comedic lines helps gives it a certain direction. Only one can imagine how far this franchise could have really gone, but that's the 90s for you. Therefore, Small Soldiers the movie gets a B+. Thanks for watching, give a like and subscribe for more Retro Rewind movie reviews, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Major Chip Hazard wants a war. We'll give him a war.